Welcome to Mr. R's art class. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thumbs, subs, and ring that bell. Okay, so for this project here, you're going to go ahead and create an environment, a place, a location that has different grounds to it. That has a foreground, something in the front, some middle ground, some 3 middle grounds, and then a background. So you want to create a place, a location, an environment that looks realistic, right? You're going to have everything that's to scale. So if you have this dinosaur here in the front, you want to make sure that some of these trees are bigger than the dinosaur. Unless you have some plants here around the dinosaur, then you want to make sure that maybe some of those plants, depending on what kind of plant it is, might be smaller than this dinosaur or maybe bigger, depending on what type of or how close this is to you as the viewer, right? So we want to make sure that we have different grounds for this project. We want to make sure that some of these objects are a little bit closer to the viewer, some of them are further away. And we're going to go ahead and use images from the internet. We're going to use 3D models from the Paint 3D program. And then you can also create some of these models on your own in this program. Right, so again, we're going to go ahead and create an environment, a place, a location that looks realistic, that looks like has all these different elements in it that belong together. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so for this project, I want you to create an environment, a place, or a location using some of the 3D models that we have here inside of Paint 3D. So you could always create a sketch here inside of Paint, but ultimately the last part of the project is going to be a 3D render of a place, location, or an environment. So you can go ahead and use the 3D shapes that they have up here by clicking on 3D library. And I want you to create an environment, a place, or a location. So I want you to again come up with a sketch. Maybe you could use just dinosaurs here, but then also bring in some vegetation. So they should have some plants, right? So have flowers and plants. So maybe use some of these plants here that might look appropriate for the dinosaurs if you're going to use dinosaurs. So I also want you to use a foreground, a couple different middle grounds, and a background here. So let's say that I have some trees here. Right, so I got some trees here, and you could right click, you could copy, and you could right click and paste. Right, so you could bring up some multiple trees here. Right, so these are just all in the same ground here. So when I say ground, they're all in the same place in the z-axis. Right, so there's same distance from the background or the canvas and where they're at. So they're in the same ground. So what you could do is you could put a bunch of trees together, but you also want to bring in a couple other. You could bring in the animals or the dinosaurs. So again, you want to come up with an environment, a place, or a location, but you want to have different grounds. You want to have a foreground, a few different middle grounds, and a background. Try to make this as detailed as possible so that the background isn't showing. So I grabbed a corner there. So let's see, let's go back into 3D view. It's probably on the same ground, right? So they're all in the same location. I'm gonna go back up here to 3D view, play with this Z-axis. So this dinosaur is gonna be a little bit closer here to the viewer. Again, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to cover this whole background in here with some details. So this is a little bit closer here to the viewer, so that's in the foreground. That would be one middle ground here. I'm gonna go back up to the 3D library. You should be able to search for some things here. Let's see, rocks. So you do have some rocks here. I'm gonna make this my background, but again, you wanna make yours a lot more different than mine. Maybe I'll even have a rock fountain. And you also wanna place these in different grounds. So a background, a few different middle grounds, and then a foreground. You can also repeat some of these, right? So you could have multiple dinosaurs. You don't have to have just one dinosaur there just because you already have a dinosaur. You could also change the scale of some of these, right? So I'll probably go back and use some of these rocks here on the right hand side and have different scales of them, right? Some smaller rocks, some bigger rocks. You could also create your own 3D objects, right? You don't have to use that in the library. You could create your own original 3D objects inside of Paint 3D. So So I'm going to go to 3D view, move this towards the background, or I could even bring these up here towards a little bit closer to me. All right, but you also want to make this look realistic, right? This shouldn't be floating like that. Maybe this is even at an angle, right? You could change the rotation of these. You don't have to use it in the same position, the same angle that Paint 3D gives it to you, right? You could just play around with this as much as possible, but try to make it look realistic, right? This is a real place. You could even leave that flat, and when you're ready to save this, you could change the angle of it so you can see the water fountain. So you could leave that flat if you want to. Otherwise, you could change the angle of that. All right, so I only have, see, I believe these are just 3 different grounds here. So this is the foreground, this is in the front. And then these are pretty close to being the same ground here. So I only have 1 foreground, 1 middle ground, and then 1 background. And I want to cover this background here too. You could also search the internet for different images and then use that as a background for your canvas as a sticker, right? So you could always find the image of rocks here and use that as a sticker here too. But again, you want to have about 3 different middle grounds, 1 foreground, and then 1 background. So what I could do is I'm going to go into Google Chrome and I'm going to type in images of maybe cliffs, rock cliffs. And let's see, let's go into images. Right, so you could download some of these here if you want. Let's see, let's click on this one. This might be okay, so I'm going to right click on it, save image as, and I need to create a folder for this. So I'm going to go into documents, go into the academic year, the semester we're currently in, the period that you have my class, and then and we're going to create a folder for this project. So we could just call this an environment. So scroll down to new folder, environment. You can name environment grounds because we're using a middle ground, a background, and a foreground. I'm going to name this cliff. Cliffs, save. So that's downloaded there. I'm going to go back to Paint 3D. I'm going to go over here to this folder. I'm going to add a sticker, and then now I need to locate that document that I just saved. So I'm going to go over here to the left hand side which says documents, the academic year, the semester we're currently in, the folder you have my class, and I didn't save that in there. Let's see, let's save that in there now. So just dragged it into that folder. There's the file there. I'm going to go ahead and click open. So there's my sticker. Try to make this as big as possible. Then I'm going to hit enter. You could always hit make 3D, and that could be my background there. I'm going to click back on those rocks, probably bring that a little bit more forward. All right, there we go. So make it look like it's coming out of the background. Maybe this raptor is a little bit close to that cliff. Maybe it's a little bit lower there. Maybe that raptor is a little bit too big. You can also create a ground here. Let's see here. Maybe we have a texture. You could use sand or rocks, gravel. Probably play with that gravel that they had. I'm going to click on it, click on my canvas. Here's my gravel here. Looks like it's wrapping to those 3D images. So you want to make sure that you let go of that, make it 3D, and then rotate it, and then bring it down here. Let's see, let's go 3D view, see what that looks like. All right, so you might need to rotate it a little bit more. Add a 3D view, maybe even put it at an angle. Alright, so you could always move these shapes around once they're in a 3D, once you make them 3D. If you leave them as a sticker, you can't really play around with them anymore. So I could always bring this a little bit closer to me. Maybe that's what the problem is. I could rotate that. And again, you can always leave these flat here. And once you take an image of this, you can always change the angle once you take a snapshot. So again, you want to do different grounds here for the environment, the place, the location. You want to add a lot more details, a lot of 3D models. Once you start adding more though, it does tend to render a little bit slowly. So we want to go ahead and save this. In case you don't finish, go to menu, save as Paint 3D project. Let's go and name this environment grounds. And then save in Paint 3D. And then we want to take a snapshot of this once we're ready to upload this into Microsoft Teams. Okay, so once that Paint 3D file is already saved, you want to go back up to menu, save as, and we're going to take a 3D image. Again, you could always adjust the angle. You can use the same controls here. You could click on 3D view to change the angle. Right, you could pan. If I had rocks all across the bottom, this will look like a lot better here for the ground here. Otherwise, it just looks like everything's floating. Even this tree here, I could have probably moved around a little bit. So you could always go back and make those adjustments. That's why it's important to save it as a 3D model first, and then you go ahead and click OK. PNG file format's okay, and we're going to go ahead and save. And you want to make sure that you're saving it in the folder that we have all our resources in. So you're going to go over here to documents, the academic year, the semester we're currently in, the period you have my class, and then the folder for the project. And then you want to save it with your name on it, and then environment, grounds 3D, because you're probably also going to do a 2D sketch real quick to kind of plan this out. Go ahead and save that. And then that 2D image, that PNG is what you're going to upload. So let's go to locate it there. I'm going to go to File Export at the bottom. Go over here to Documents. Right, the semester, the period, and then the projects. And then this is going to be what you upload into Teams for that project there. All right, so if you have any questions of how to create a sticker with a background, how to find an image inside of Google and save that onto a folder that you create for this project. If you need help scaling up some of these models or kind of understanding what grounds are, what middle ground, a foreground, and a background, go ahead and let me know.
Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And feel free to watch any of the other related videos.